Good morning.
Good
And
morning.
welcome to FYI.
Welcome.
It's Tuesday the 19th
Yes, already, man.
of April already. Wow.
Yeah. Believe
Time
it or not.
is
Believe it or not.
certainly flying. But welcome and good morning
Yeah.
after a very
Yeah.
long 4-day weekend. We trust that you are well rested. You may note that one of our team members that she whose name will not be called
Yeah.
is not here. But
You know the young ones just can't take the rockings. The young ones.
She went to
The young
Big
ones.
People Party and cannot recover
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
yet.
The young ones.
But no, Joretta is out there. She was out in the field. She's in Region 7 and she'll be joining us
Roll up the
again.
fields. Get some betches and chigga.
She'll be joining us tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
But welcome, guys. Welcome.
Yeah.
Let us know how you're doing.
Yeah, but let us know
how
you're hearing
you
us clearly
spend your
too.
weekend. Are you hearing us
At least we
clearly?
talk it to myself.
Just let us know that you're hearing us
Yeah.
loud and clear. Put in the comments, hearing you loud and clear.
Hashtag.
Good morning again. It's certainly a pleasure to be back. We had a very good 4 days. I mean, it's very active.
Hope you guys fired up. Easter's behind us. We gotta let it go. Whatever
and
happened.
we have work to do.
We got work to do.
Vashti, Megnat, are you hearing us? And
Yeah.
clear.
Gavin says loud and
clear.
I love that. Loud and clear.
Awesome,
That's how we like to be. Loud,
awesome.
loud
We
and
like
clear.
to be loud and clear so that there's no misunderstanding.
Correct is right.
Tell us how you're doing, guys. Let us know how you spent your Easter weekend. Let us know what the weather is like in your neck of the woods.
Correct.
It is sunny. It's a really beautiful sunny morning in Georgetown.
Yeah, very much so. And it's good to have you alter myself this morning. Minus Sharita. I get used to this,
It certainly is a pleasure.
Once in a while, you need some spicy in life.
Jules, hurry up and come back. I never cherish.
Once in a while.
Yes.
Once in a while.
So, guys, let us know how you spent your weekend. I mean, mine was pretty active. I didn't have time to rest.
Happy about that.
I had to bake cross. But
well, you know the good book say?
No rest to the righteous. Amen.
Same thing. Same thing.
How was yours?
Mine's is sharp, you know. Mine's is sharp, boy.
How was yours?
I had a good weekend. Restful weekend. Very quiet.
Good.
Just
you deserve it. Sherrod works
Yeah.
so hard. He works so hard.
The rest of the weekend.
He works really hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy that he was able to get some rest. I was up and about. I was doing the most. I mean, we were in Easter Sunday, we were in Belladrum Beach. You know, our colleague Chris Jones had a thing out there. And my God, that piece of area is really, really very nice.
This country
is
not Georgetown, thankfully. Right? There are other places, and Burbake's the whole stretch of. I actually was tweeting over the weekend, and one of the things that I said that if you fed up with tongue life, take a drive out in the country.
Listen, right? I was born in the quarantine, and I'm telling you, there's a certain.
Lucky you.
I know good things come from Barbies.
Barbies gonna change your life.
Barbies gonna change your life.
Change your life.
And no, but there's a certain point that I hit. I think it's at my Coney. On the left-hand side, it's an extensive piece of. It's a farm, and it has a white picket fence. Whenever I hit there, this feeling of just being home.
That's Bath area.
Is it Bath?
Yes.
The
sign fall long now. They should put it back.
Okay.
But
I have this feeling of being home.
It looks like a ranch.
Yes, it does look like a ranch. It's euphoric. And so I advise anybody.
Yeah.
Once you have a car, put the family in the car and and head out.
And that's a culture thing we have to change, because we say here often that we just work hard as guys and we dead. That's it.
Yeah.
Other people plan vacations and time away to recharge and to regroup and to that kind of stuff. Introspect. We just work hard and then we dead.
No, we can't. We can't do that. I make sure
our generation will not.
No, we will not. I make sure that I take a vacation at least twice a year. And I'm unapologetic about it. Even if I do not leave the country, I make a conscious effort to go someplace, relax and unwind.
Yeah.
Because self-care is important. And so let us know what you did this Easter, Jacqueline Shaw, and Andrew Cosbert, and Alison Glasgow.
Yep. Joy
Alison said she
Kosha,
want to go to the
unusual.
white party tonight, but you got school tomorrow, Alison. Alison understands her priorities. Gavin Liverpool says the sun is out in all its glory here in the Democratic Republic of Linden.
I love that. Tessa Waterman says she's watching us from London.
Hey Tessa. Hi.
Ricardo
it's
Charles
good
is
to
there
hear
as well.
from you,
Yeah,
Ricardo
yeah.
Charles.
The Democratic
Pleasant
Republic
good
of
morning.
England. I love it.
Miss you guys
I love
so
it.
damn much. Welcome back. Well, Ricardo,
I know.
thank you.
People were messaging us whole weekend.
Yes.
We miss you.
Yes.
Yeah, must look, spend some time. I was supposed to say, spend time with family. That's what they wanted to do. They wanted to spend time with family. Our apologies. Next time.
It's amazing how this program is just becoming a part of people's like routine.
Yeah. And we love it.
We had a big barbecue in Congress Place yesterday, and a few women accosted me because Sherrod was out of town. Where is Sherrod? Why isn't he here? And so we're so happy people are signing in to get credible information. It's really the feedback is important, guys. We want to know that we are making a difference and that we are bringing you information that you can rely on and that you can make good decisions.
Correct. And we're not just out here talking to yourself. It's not talking to yourself,
It's good to know.
It's the answering back.
And whilst you are here, please remember to
and smash. Share and smash. We gotta really bring truth into this thing.
Yes, absolutely.
This little pious, posh, bougie mentality
it's
gotta go.
No, but it's not even about that. It's about just being able to relax and be your authentic self.
Yeah.
I mean, even if your authentic self is bougie,
pretend one,
Siobhan said she went to a baby shower. It was great and she had a lot of fun. George Anand said, we missed you guys. We missed you too. And Roger says, we miss you, Barbados.
Penelope Howard, good to see you watching us from
Good
Barbados.
morning, Penelope. Thank you, Osmond.
It's Roger Greenwich says, we miss you guys.
Yes,
Barbados watching.
He's in Barbados.
Yeah.
I see Riri in Barbados. George, have you seen her? She landed there the other day.
You can see the belly first. You can see the belly first.
Lloyd Batson watching from New York. Thank you, Monica. Monica says we look lovely.
These are the folks that allow us to say we have an international program because they watch us from all over the world. And we're so grateful. We're scattered people.
The other day, I saw somebody watching from Scotland. I was like, wow. But you see this thing about being a scattered people? Sherrod, can you imagine if we were to get our diaspora on board to develop areas?
Yeah. So let us know what you guys have been up to over this long Easter weekend. We have been resting here at our part, and we have been minding Amanda's business, believe it or not, because we got this. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, I was fellowshipping.
Manza look like the Queen's sister, Princess Margaret. Token came, believe it or not. So here's Manza. Manza didn't even know we had this set, but we mind your own business and mind your business. So talk to us about that.
No, it was Easter Sunday, and so I joined the congregation at. No, not quite. I joined the Dean Real and the congregation there at St. George's for Easter Mass. It was quite nice. It was quite cool.
And you guys look awesome. You guys look very regal. I mean, I don't want to pretend I didn't see how you look here.
That's myself.
Look very nice. Who is the young lady?
This is Sandra Davidson Lowe. She's a member of the congregation there, and it was quite a good
fantastic.
It was good to be out and to fellowship.
Fantastic. Yep. I'm happy when I see you go to church. I know it's a natural part of your existence. That seeking that higher power, having that as your core, part of your core values. But I saw a lot of folks were in church over the weekend. They go to church. We go to church. It was hardcore, right? A lot of people went to church over the weekend about it.
I'm
happy for them. That's all I
Yes. Let's leave it at that.
Let's drink Matila.
Let's leave it at that. Let us hope that some word dropped in their spirit and we see some changed behavior, because you never know. You never know.
But I hasten to say, not
Mhm.
only on these special occasions, East and Son,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Church should be a regular part.
Well,
Whether it's masjid, it's the temple you go to, church as it's known.
absolutely.
Yeah, it should be a regular part.
Yeah, and the spiritual health of a
Yeah.
nation is important.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
And
very, very
and
important.
I would hasten to add to even that,
Mhm.
that whatever are those religious teachings,
Mhm.
has to imbue you to be a different person.
A better person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A
no,
better person.
I agree. And I keep saying that whatever, look, when you look at the major religions that Guyanese practice, there's some fundamental principles
Mhm.
of love, of kindness.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what our spirit or religious beliefs are. If you latch on to those things and you practice them, if you're a Christian, you're a Muslim, you're a Hindu, Guyana will be a better place.
Mhm.
But we spend a lot of time focusing on our differences rather than focusing on what makes us alike.
Very much
And
so.
that
Very
is
much
that is
so.
where you get
Very
religious
much so.
intolerance, you get cultural intolerance. But
Yeah. Yeah.
we try to be open-minded. We respect other people's beliefs here, and
We're quite like our cooking as Guyanese, very spicy, very flavored.
yes.
And I think it all redounds to our benefit as a people, that we're so diverse, different cultures, religious belief, political persuasion. I always say to people, in my own personal capacity, if you're PPP, be a good PPP person.
Yeah.
If you WPA, if you Alliance for
Yes.
Change,
Yes.
be a good person in that regard,
Because people are entitled
Yeah.
to their religious beliefs,
Yeah.
they're entitled to their political affiliations. Where we have a problem in Guyana is the psyche of some people that says that I am supposed to dominate you.
Yes.
And that's where we follow.
Yeah.
Because you're going to dominate me.
And that's why we believe on that we have a superior political philosophy, because it is all encompassing, and it's not only in word. You see, we got a challenge in this country, man, where too often we pay lip service, but the practice of the thing, we hear about democracy and rule of law and good governance and
Yes.
and transparency, but the practice of the thing, something different.
It's a different animal.
Yeah.
And this is where the people of Guyana need to begin to hold people accountable.
Mhm.
I completely agree. We have a far more superior political philosophy. It is far more inclusionary. It has been so from day one. And we continue to grow and to expand in that. As you said, lip service is a problem. And as Guyanese, we have to stop being taken in with good talk. We have to look at action.
Yeah.
And this is where I have a difference. This is where I depart with Irfan Ali, because he says one thing and his government puts into practice something completely different. So it is either he has serious cognitive dissonance or he does not have control of his ministers, who are implementing every day the most racist and prejudicial of policies.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But Guyanese have to demand more.
Excellent, excellent. And continuing our trend of minding a man's business, we saw Amans was busy this last weekend here. Talk to us about this. So we got some busybodies here,
this is Wiki Kalkuni.
We got some busybodies here. Tell us a little about this.
We were in Wiki Kalkuni. We went up to take some kites for the children there. We were partnering with the Joy Foundation. And so we went up to Wiki Kalkuni. It was a trip. So you drive to Linden, and then from Linden you drive to, we drove to Araima. You could either go to Araima or Kokwani. And there you join a boat, and you go for maybe an hour and a half up to Berbice.
And you're still in Guyana.
And it is the most magnificent of views just going along those waterways. People, you have to get out of the city and to explore what's happening.
Correct is right.
And it was really good to see those children. We had quite a blast, and I was happy to be able to see a couple of my mother's friends.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people don't know that my mom used to be the deputy regional chairman of, she used to be the deputy regional chairman or vice chair, we call it, of Region 10. And she was responsible for those riverine areas. So a lot of the areas that we went to were areas that she would have worked with in her political life. And it was so good to see a few of her friends, some of the older ladies. Oh,
Yeah.
you're Miss Joy's daughter. It was quite emotional. I won't lie.
Fantastic.
Because for those of you who know, my mom passed. Maybe it's going to 2 years now. So it was yes, it was a well spent Easter.
Yeah. Catching up with your man.
You mind no more my business, right? That's it. That's the end of it.
Yeah, believe it.
Okay, great.
Believe it or not, and we got mind you, the business needs to run.
Hold on now, we waiting for your jurors. Come back quick.
Yeah. But how are you guys doing? Please let us know that. Let's make sure we have the comments. Let us know how you're doing, Marlene Thomas and Singh.
Judith said we didn't see you in Bartica. No, Judith, we weren't in Bartica.
Bartica was full.
Oh my
Bartica was full.
It appears as though
Judith,
there was a lot going on.
Held things down there, but I saw, unfortunately, there was an accident. I can't remember which avenue, but an elderly gentleman lost his life. I think a motorcyclist speeding through one of those areas there.
Our condolences
and
his family.
Definitely so. And we were advising folks, as we often do here, that, arrive alive, slow down, especially over these holiday weekends. People tend to.
And then some of them drink and some of them drive. Yeah, it's quite unfortunate.
Yeah, but of course, you guys out there are responsible. Not like those folks, Troy Brutus and Fair Alliance, Rishi, Rambali, and Indrani, Lakram. Of course, not you guys. Very responsible, each and every. Folks, if y'all came on from this long religious weekend and you bitter this morning and you contentious, you better go back in the weekend. Soak down a little more, then come back, Soak down a little more and then come back
out. Joseph is saying, hi, Amanda, how's your dad? Oh, Laverne, my dad passed a year before my mom. So, yes, my parents are no longer with us. But, we're managing.
Yeah,
we're managing.
Yeah.
And, Sherrod, there's a lot going on.
There is.
There's so much happening.
There is. Where do we start? That's the thing.
we have a dilemma here on this show every
day.
Where
do we start?
Where do we?
Yep.
Where do we start?
The morning papers. Maybe that's a good place. Maybe that's a good place to start. Maybe that's so much happening in the morning because we had such a long weekend. It's like what do you focus on? And if maybe we start in the region, there's a bishop, an archbishop in Trinidad, Jason Gordon, who said that Trinidadians, the leaders in Trinidad, they don't serve, right? And, there are two things in that little statement there. Leaders don't serve, right? So you can be a leader, but you aren't serving. And, people tend to listen when an archbishop of a country, and they get so vocal.
And maybe in this respect, maybe our local clergy needs to become a little more vocal in terms of speaking up against these injustices. Look, I always say when you are a government minister, and you know that if you break down the word minister, what it means to serve, one who serves. And the unfortunate mindset of Guyanese is that when you become a minister, you have to serve the minister. Well, we are here to tell you that is not so. Leaders, ministers must serve the people.
Correct.
And this is where we have to break this mindset. As long as Guyanese understand that leaders are there to serve, this blind political loyalty will end. Because you will understand that I could vote you out in 5 years and put somebody. This thing about one government being there for 23 years must stop now, because Guyanese must understand that they have the power of the ballot. And so if a government is not doing what you believe that they should be doing, then you have a right to vote them out.
Correct. And and I think a part of the cultural shift that has to happen is that issues-based politics as against what you look like. Right?
And this is, it is so painful. You go on Facebook sometimes and you see the most asinine comments. Hampers are rotting in Region 10.
Yep.
And somebody feels that it's okay to say, well, at least they get completely missing the issue. That in an age and in a time in Guyana where people are starving, how could you be so malicious as to not share out hampers to everybody because they're not of a particular persuasion. I'm waiting to hear if Todd is going to fire all those involved as a sign that he is interested in the welfare of the whole of Linden and not just his PVP supporters.
Very much
I'm
so. You know,
waiting.
we have a long way to go, a very, very long way to go. And again, this whole separation and Archbishop Jason Gordon, I think, thankfully put this on the map because we could be doing a lot of stuff, but in all that we ain't really doing nothing. You know, and they said movement is not always the same as progress.
Movement is not progress, right? And
we got a lot of movement, but not much on progress. And you know what? Just over the weekend, I was trying. I don't think it got into the printed papers because I was trying vociferously looking for it. But Anand Gulsaran was chronicling some of the failed big projects in this country, and sad to say all of them are on the PPP.
Well,
that's the reality of it.
You know, this is the reality. And this is where we as Guyanese, again, we have to make friends with facts. Facts must be our friend. When you look at it and you stop to think back, people Harold Jagdeo is this big economic, revolutionary of some sort. Look at his look at his record.
We're not seeing it.
Sugar at Skeldon is abysmal. The Borbies Bridge, yes, a very useful bridge, but the tolls are ridiculous. And guess what? This Demerara Harbor bridge that they are touting, the people who live in Region 3 had better be aware that this new bridge will come with increased fees.
Yeah.
If you recall, it was the AP and UFC government that had to step in to prevent the Borbies Bridge operators from raising the tolls even higher.
Correct.
So because of the model that they're using to build this Demerara Harbor Bridge or that they're proposing, what Guyanese will see is a drastic increase from the 100 and 200 that we pay to cross the bridge.
Very much so. You know, it's a strange country. Because
now people will say, mind you, sure, that development comes with a cost. But certainly as an oil-producing nation, there is a model that you can use, an economic model, to build that bridge that will not result in a 1,000-fold increase in the cost of toll. So, but we busy costing each other in Guyana about the most basic things about hampers. Whilst we do this, the government makes off like a bandit because they are not held accountable.
And that again is part of the challenge that we have. Because if you look at business, the business world and politics side by side, and you think of the president as a CEO of a company, and you have to have return on your investments, right? But we don't think like that in politics. You just have this endless supply of public, not public servants, but taxes that are paid by the citizenry, right? And endless the public purse. But if you had a CEO of a company and you see failed project after failed project after failed project, interestingly, in the business world, they don't fire the whole staff of the company. They fire the leadership.
They fire the leadership.
And bring in new leadership.
Because a nation turns on its leadership. So, I do not understand why we will continue to be gullible as a nation. They promised to make sugar great again. That's not happening.
Yeah, it's not going to happen either.
And it's not going to happen. And what you see, we allow too often, my concern for us as Guyanese is that we allow temporary things to sway us. The PPP understands that they can go into communities and they can throw a 10, a 20, a 30, $40,000 at people and they will be satisfied for the moment. Not understanding that they are setting them up for long-term failure. Because when you put them back in government, they're already there. There's nothing you can do.
Correct. I know we're going to talk about that in one of the trending topics. So we're going to stick a pin there. But another thing we're focusing on, so right up your alley, some comments attributed to our Member of Parliament, German Figuera, who said recently that we aren't going to be scrutinizing any of the PPP spending before elections. And that is quite interesting because that is fully orchestrated by the PPP.
Absolutely, because you know that they would have tampered with the need for a quorum.
Yeah.
And what we keep saying to Guyanese is that what that does is that it ensures that if, okay, let me break this down simply. Before this motion was passed, once the opposition, once three members, if it's from the opposition or from the government, once three members of the PAC were in place, the work of the committee could go on. What the PPP did, because they do not want the scrutiny, is that they have orchestrated a motion where two members
Yep. Believe it or not.
of the government must be present and two members of the opposition must be present, and they have shrouded it under the guise of, oh, transparency and greater inclusivity, but we know that that's for the birds.
Yep.
We know that what they want to do, and we go, and listen, you're going to see it happen. They're not going to show up to PAC meetings, and the work of the PAC will be stymied, because for the first time, the PAC is keeping up to date with the reports. Our own Director Finance is on the PAC, and Director has 100% attendance, which means she has never missed one session. But these boys don't want that. They don't want Guyanese to see the level of corruption that they've been engaging in and how broken the procurement system
is. I know that should be a bother to everybody, and it should be a concern even to PPP and their supporters. How should people judge your administration if you claim you like transparency, but you put everything in the way so people can't examine, scrutinize, and what do you call it? Interrogate your spending. Wouldn't this be great to say we're open? Come and see what we have done. Interrogate it, scrutinize it, probe it, criticize. But let's have good it.
That is the measure of good governance.
Yeah.
You see, and this is what people got to understand. And there are some people who amaze me. Oh, you all were there. What did you do?
We never did this. Never changed the rules that said the opposition should lead the committee. Whoever they want to be chair should be chair. And that, these three persons, whoever three they may be, constitutes a quorum. Right? And so you had full scrutiny.
It is the first of its kind in the Commonwealth. And I want people to understand the blow that has been struck to parliamentary democracy.
But Amanzo, I'm not surprised. I'm certain you are with the PPP. But I'm surprised we haven't heard anything yet out of the diplomatic community. That is what I'm surprised, because this, as Amanzo said, it is not the norm.
It is not the norm. One of the things that I did, one of the courses that we had to do when we were in the UK, was to look at the Public Accounts Committee there and how it works. And Sherrod, you'd be surprised at how much of a partnership approach the government and the opposition has. Both the government rep on the PAC and the chair of the PAC, which is the opposition in the UK, they came and they spoke to us together. And they were telling us about their tag team approach, because they said their mindset is not that us against them. It is us against a broken system, because we want to see where the money is hemorrhaging. Because if 10 billion hemorrhages here, we could save it and put it to good healthcare so that all of the UK benefits, every citizen benefits. And that is the mindset.
We think the otherwise.
We
think hemorrhaging is where we want to hide, because
so we can cover it down.
Yeah.
And the Guyanese people are the people who are losing.
That is why 50 odd years after independence, we're still talking about light and road and water. That is the measure. That's precisely why. That's why you haven't moved on from there.
And we as a society, we have to begin to elevate the way we think. I mean, when you say these things, people may think that you are condescending, but the only way for Guyana to evolve is for the thinking of the Guyanese people to evolve. It can be no other way. And so we have a lot of work to do, Sherrod. We got a lot of work to do.
Agreed. And those are just a couple of the issues that are on the morning papers. But as we start to the morning trend, guys, you should know some news making international headlines, and want to start with something right. Cristiano Ronaldo, he lost one of his twins. One of the babies didn't make it, and I think it's the boy.
Oh my!
Right, I think it's his son. And so I'm catching that aspect right. But I think that's what the headline reads this morning. Cristiano Ronaldo, international football, and we know what a tough time this is, And one of the things when I read this story, it was brought to our attention, this is what was happening. One of the things that struck me, Amanda, is that, setbacks and disappointment and tragedy, don't care if it's a superstar,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Right?
what the good book say? The rain falls on.
The just and the just.
So it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
what your status in life is. These things do befall you, and your measure determines on how well you're able to weather them and get back up.
Yeah.
So.
But I could
our
imagine how.
condolences and our thoughts and prayers.
I could imagine
that
how
cannot be
devastating
easy.
this could be, because you've been expecting these twins or this child. This is a very difficult and sensitive time. It is one of, I found out by experience. It's one of the most beautiful periods in your life to be welcoming a child. But it's one of the most dangerous periods too.
And it is, and particularly for women, and
especially in this healthcare system.
And this is the point that I'm going to make. Back home here, we have the infant, the mortality rate of newborns is alarming. This was a phenomenon that was all but curbed under the previous administration. Now it seems as though we're back to square one.
Fighting every day, fighting on arrival, fighting for survival. It's difficult to see what's happening. And again, as Van said, our condolences, our thoughts and prayers go out not only to Ronaldo, but all of those folks who are suffering in this regard, because this is not an easy time in anybody's life.
It isn't. It isn't. As a mother, you feel it. I'm sure as a father, you can relate to that, which is why we have
and
to.
in the healthcare system that we're in, Amanda, every day you're in that period, you have to engage the healthcare system for whatever is the issue. That is a luck and chance, really and truly. You know who hand you gonna fall in.
But you see, this ought not to be the case, Sharon. There are not so many of us in this country. We have reached 1 million people.
Yeah, and we're struggling, and that is something that always provokes me, and should provoke. I know it provokes you. I should provoke all of us. They got some countries, they got towns. Mexico City, 25 million people.
One city of 25 million people. We are 800,000 of us scattered.
65 NDC.
And
the army, a defense force, police, neighborhood democratic councils.
There's something fundamentally wrong.
And 12 people
fundamentally wrong
on a city council could manage 25 million people. We struggle in here to provide water, road, like 50 years ago.
If you do the basic numbers, how many ministers of government are there?
About 70.
How many people in this country? I mean, if you assign one minister, let's say, to 100,000 people, we can't take care of our people. I mean, let's break it down to as basic a unit as that.
And with the wealth
and with the money
that
we have. But the reality is that as Guyanese, I always say we have to believe that we are worth this. PPP supporters have got to believe that they are not, bound by blood to vote for corrupt government.
Yeah. But you know what? I think we have a responsibility, man. As you always say, demand more. We have to demand more of our government.
Power concedes nothing
whether
without a demand.
APNU ALC in government or PP in government, whoever's in government, demand more. And that is why I think for people who support this administration, they have a greater responsibility, because it's y'all want to see them there. And when y'all see them doing nonsense, you have to demand more. But another part of the challenge we have, Amanda, in this healthcare system, we got to take a little responsibility too. I think as individuals, and you always say this too, as an individual. I had an experience at Georgetown Public Hospital that changed my life. So my son, when he was younger, had, when he gets fever and he gets hot, he just goes into shock.
And the baby?
No, this is the older child,
okay.
Right? When he was much, much younger, when he gets a fever, he just goes into shock. Once his temperature reaches a certain height and his eyes would roll up, he would get stiff. The first time this thing happened to me, it shook me up.
Yeah, I can understand.
It shook me up. And then as you got medical attention, you learned as soon as his temperature starts to go up, give him a bath quickly. Try to keep that temperature down, and then seek help.
Yeah.
So I made the mistake of going to Georgetown Public Hospital. And of course, they look at your child and say, well, in the triage, he ain't bleeding, he ain't unconscious, what have you, and that long way. And I sat down in that place years ago. He's 30 now, he could have been 3, 4 then. If not younger, I think he was younger. And I vowed a vow. Sitting down in that place. Me got all the money in the world. But I would never come back and sit down.
And you know what?
I vowed that vow, man.
And you know what? You have that option. You have that option. There are many people who don't.
But I'm telling you, at that point, I didn't.
No, but
I didn't have the option.
I understand.
Right?
But the point that I'm making is that there's some people who will never be
Yeah.
able
And that
to
is
either
how-
now
yeah.
or in the future.
And that's how the state plays such an important part.
But you know,
That's how
what
the
is
state plays an
irony,
important part.
Sharon?
Yeah.
You know what is the irony? That a lot of them that are condoning the corruption home here with the PPP, they would go to the US and access the public healthcare system.
But
because it is on a better.
We're coming to that
footing.
as we're talking about Ronaldo, because I think something else on our trend goes directly to that. You know, Ralph Gonzalez isn't feeling well, right? And he's heading to Venezuela for treatment. And then, according to the report, it says he's heading after that, if he has to Cuba, right? And while we commensurate with his whatever affliction he has, he said he woke up with his a pain in his side, man, sir.
Wow.
And he went to the hospital at their end in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and they advised him that he should seek help elsewhere.
But doesn't that you know, it's again, we commiserate with him, but it ought to make us vow to do better as leaders.
Exactly.
You know, as leaders.
I think that's what the Archbishop was saying, right? Because how many of us, again, this is the prime minister, the issue of the prime minister's offers us the opportunity as we have in the discussion. Got the means. Oh, my side paining me, I can head to Venezuela, Miami.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, we don't.
And if Miami and walk out, I can be done.
But the thing is that as a nation, we have the means to be able to put all of these things in place. And you know, the issue of oil and the increase in oil prices has some negatives, but for Guyana, it does have a few positives. And the question remains, how is this government going to ensure that this potential windfall redounds to the benefit of all Guyanese? And it shows that they're not indicating that they are able to do that. You look in the papers, somebody warning somebody. Ali Reid's Riot Act over CJIA project. Mustafa Reid's Riot Act. Why must we, as the persons that run the nation, on Riot Act?
Yeah. That's an interesting point. And as a man says, has put us in that direction, that's an important note that we can pick up on. That's the segment we talk about what he said, what she said, what they said, and quite interestingly, picking up out of the Starbuck News as the man is there, how can a country, that's a question that's being asked by a letter writer, one Denise Murray, how can a country run on warnings and riot acts and pointing out the various headlines as you did there, Manza, you know, as a Manza did there, let's just walk through a couple of them. Very short letter to the editor, and it says, you know, pick out one headline. Government threatens to take over city streets to curb roadside vending. Hickens issues warning to sergeants. Ali Reid's riot act over CGIA project. Police issues warning over wanton use of sirens. Mustafa Reid's riot act to delinquent contractors, right? That's all you have. But what the letter writer was saying, you know, let me read part of the letter so you have a better context to it. Do you remember when you were kids? Let me pull it up. It might have gone off too quick. Do you remember when you were kids and you committed a negative act? Your mother would threaten the daylights out of you by saying, wait until your father comes home. So you get started. So you started to shake with every clock ticking minute. Well, some dads came home late. You were fast asleep. And other dads never came home. But mom's strategy worked until the next event. Then their threats start all over again. Kudos to those strong moms who dealt nicely with the situation then and there. And while the person is saying, this is the strategy,
This is the same strategy.
these are the threats and so on, until next time.
But Sharon, it is indicative of a breakdown.
Mhm.
If our institutions worked, these threats wouldn't have to happen. If the police force had a proper disciplinary arm with proper procedures, and when people brought complaints, they were resolved impartially and resolved speedily, Hickens
Yeah.
wouldn't have to be warning sergeants.
Which I think brings us to the larger notion that in this country we don't solve problems.
No, we don't solve
Put a
problems
little class,
because
that's it.
what we do is that we break down, or this government has broken down the institutions that are put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen. Look, Hicken warns, issues warning to sergeant. Like I said, if our disciplinary procedures were in place, if the integrity of the Police Service Commission had remained inviolable, we know what is the story around that. He wouldn't have had to do that.
Correct is right.
Because there is a breakdown at the head. So you can't tell nobody to respect you because you're doing the most at the top there. So the rot starts from the head. Ali Reid's riot act over CJIA project. Why does he have to do that? He has to do that because the project management system is broken.
And as a matter of fact, this was one of the projects that Anand Gulsaran, a former Auditor General, highlighted as a failed PPP project.
Right. And so it doesn't matter how much their propaganda tries to spin it. You will recall that this project was inherited by the previous administration. It was about 90% executed under that previous administration. And now we're back to square one. I won't go into that. I was going to put on my aviation hat for a minute, but I'm not going to go into that.
The other aspect to the discussion that I want to invite is what has been happening in Region 6. Because here is Denise Murray saying, this is not a good way of governance. By saying, you're reading riot acts and you're doing all this strange stuff, basically. This is not a good way to govern at all. That's the point she is making. You need more substance. This is just form.
You need your institutions to work.
But here what's happening in Region 6, because I saw quite a few letters appearing in the press the very same way. Kudos to government for airport and stadium for Region 6. But you weren't even successful on the large big projects that you bring in Region 6. But now you're diverting attention. So you ask the chamber in Region 6 to write a letter on your behalf, saying that you like the stadium, right? Because people can eat the stadium and they can eat the airport, right? You ask somebody for write another letter saying, yeah, kudos, but let me forget Skeldon up the road.
And forget that you have promised to make sugar great again. You have failed.
Yeah.
The rice farmers have an issue
with
you. And so all of it is sleight of hand and distraction. But I say this.
Rice production down, sugar down.
I mean, take a dispassionate look at this PPPC's tenure. They appear to be, and when I say the PPPC, I'm not talking about their supporters, because whether their supporters want to believe it or not, there's a core of elitists in the PPP. Is who I'm talking about, not the rank and file supporters. And their supporters have to understand that this core of people don't really care about you. You are simply viewed as a pawn in their game that they could come and they could throw scraps at, and you will vote them back into power. Meanwhile, they're giving you scraps, and they and their cronies are enjoying the feasts. But because they know that you will be scrimping to feed your family, that you got to them battling to put food on the table, but because you have this sense of loyalty, not to Guyana, but to them, they know that you're going to go and vote for them, and they'll get back to do their same foolishness.
Precisely. I know that is what we ask you guys as viewers and listeners to our program to do as well. We know you got quite a few persons who support the PPP, watch our programs. And, they spend a lot of time being angry, and that's a good thing if you channel it properly. But a question you have to ask yourself, are they right? When you listen to the issues, you do your own research and so on. You look at Gaisuko, you can't miss Gaisuko and the performance of Gaisuko. The promises that were made with just under 2 years, 18 months in, are they right? Are they right about that? You might hear criticisms, but a good thing to do as a mature person, is this person right about what they're saying? The criticism that is being leveled, are they right about that? And I think if the supporters of the PP listen and they watch and they do their own research and background work and stuff, they're going to find, we're too off, as they all think we are. When you first hear it, it's going to upset you because, of course, it's people who are supportive of the previous administration, right? And they're going to upset you. But if you think it through in a quiet moment, you're going to realize, you know what? Them boys fail sugar.
And if you put Guyana first, you would have no difficulty with holding them accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Mm-hmm. If you put Guyana first, I find it amazing because I travel a lot, that when you hop on a plane, the same people that look at your cross-eye in your own country, they're the most friendly people when that plane lifts up. We can talk about these hard issues because we don't talk about them enough. Because it appears as though it is almost a paradigm that you have to get into to exist in Guyana. We and them, them and you, we and them. When we leave Guyana, we are all minority people, subject to the same trials that minority people are subject to. But you have an elitist lot in the PPPC who stoke this.
Because it serves the benefit to keep them where they are.
It keeps them where they are.
And while we,
no, go ahead.
Now to say, while we're on that, look what's happening in this issue, Manza, because as a legal person, I know you have peculiar interests here as well. The fact that this is the Article 13 group over the weekend, we're saying that we have to immediately confirm the Chancellor and Chief Justice.
Should have been done a long time ago.
We got a lot of acting people in this country. Too many people.
Should have been done a long time ago, even under the previous administration. And
I agree with you there.
I say the things that have to be said. It's long overdue.
That's how we operate. Who expects? That's it.
Very long overdue.
Long overdue. And
these are two capable and competent women,
This part of kicking the can down the road because, it is the current president of the CCJ, Adrian Saunders, who had to do the math for us. 17 years.
17.
We had a substantive Chancellor and Chief Justice. That's an indictment in all of us.
17 years
really,
over 2 administrations. Not a good look.
17 years, and we can, an opposition and a government, and we've been on both sides of the table. And that's why, when I see some people say some stuff, right? I say y'all memory short. Y'all memory short because the governors, though, they would never be out of power. Y'all memory short.
Listen, their biggest excuses is 5 years. And I will not sit here and say that there are things that ought to have been done in the 5 years that were not done. But I am reasonable enough to understand that if you have a child that was trained up in one way for 23 years, which was like near to the term of the PPPC, this child now has an intervention for 5 years. You think about it. Is it possible to undo that 23 years of damage in 5 years? And if you think about it, you will understand why this nonsensical fallacy that the PPPC like to push and like to have their supporters push is that what y'all do when you were there. API and AFC coalition government was there for 5 years. And what was happening was a very important thing that people don't see. Because as Guyanese, sometimes we like road and we like thing and we love to see superficial stuff. But what was happening is something that was far more important. Our institutions were being allowed to function and were being built up. We were moved off of the money laundering list. We were moved off of the, we moved up in the transparency index. Our procurement system was lauded. And so what you had was the setting up of a foundation for proper governance.
Hit right there, Manza. The Judicial Service Commission work. The Teaching Service Commission work.
The commissions,
Police Service Commission work,
and in place. This is the difference between the way The APNU AFC governs and the PPPC governs. The PPPC dismantles institutions so that you have to go and kiss the ring to be able to get things done. That is not the foundation for sound governance. If you look at the great societies that we like to fly to and admire how they've developed, it is because they grew their institutions. So you move it away from the cult of personality. So when y'all come with this stupidness about you been there, what did you do? You sit and think about it and understand how nonsensical it sounds and how superficial you sound repeating that nonsense.
Amans, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. You know, I often, tell folks of one of my first interactions in a place called Spartanburg, South Carolina, where I got some family who live there. And it was so mind-boggling to me because I like to see systems work and I like to examine how systems function in other places. And so I was asking my aunt, I said, who is the mayor of this area here? Incidentally, it has a population of Georgetown and perhaps the same size of Georgetown, Spartanburg, South Carolina. And she said she didn't know who the mayor was, right? And they've lived there for a long time. I thought it quite interesting because as I was traversing the area, I noticed that the garbage was being picked up, the roads were being swept and washed, the trees were being trimmed. Could you imagine a society that functions so efficiently, people don't care who the mayor is?
I mean,
right?
That is a mind-blowing concept.
They are part of the election and all of that.
Were it not working,
right?
they would have known who the mayor was.
That's what I was coming around to.
That's
the one I was coming around to.
Who was the philosopher that said that a leader governs so well that when the people have accomplished their aim, they say that we did it.
Yeah.
Because systems are allowed to work in such a way that the leader is not necessarily the figurehead and always the front. Not so with this government. We rule by cult of personality. Your fan got to come cut a ribbon, and there's a place for that. But when warnings and riot act being read have to replace institutions, we're heading for a decline. Compound this with the fact, Sharon, that they now have access to this oil money. And then you're going to have some people who will say, oh, y'all vexed because you don't have access to the money. Nobody cares about who has access to the money once it's being put
done
to the use of the Guyanese people and for the benefit of the Guyanese people.
Yeah.
So stop that foolishness. We have to call people out on this nonsense, and we have to challenge these mindsets that will keep us, in retrogression. You have the money. The AP and UFC did not have access to the oil funds the way this government does. What are you doing for the people except fattening your pockets? You go to Region 6, they complain about the corruption of public officials. You go to Region 10, they complain about it. Everywhere you go, the song is corruption and decay and decline. We have to answer a fundamental question as Guyanese. Do we want to move this nation forward?
I think in lots of regards, that question has been answered because, believe it or not, we didn't orchestrate a discussion the way the discussion is going this morning. But look what comes up next on the trend this morning. Ramson acknowledges APNU AFC should have been invited to the flag raising ceremony. This answers your question. Do you believe the country going the way it should? Could you imagine that this is where we are? This is what makes headline. Right? This is our challenge. Apologies.
No, that's all right.
This is our challenges here. This is our challenge that we have. Right? I don't think down there in Spartanburg, South Carolina, they have a challenge inviting whoever's the political opposition there to events.
Look at the US.
I think that's a challenge.
Example. Look at the US, for example. The Republicans and the Democrats fight all the time.
As a matter of fact.
But when it comes to national issues, like a flag raising.
As a matter of fact, you had the insurrection just the other day, which will go down as one of the most, is the word sordid, right? The most infamous, one of the most infamous events that transpired on US soil. that insurrection 2 years ago there on Capitol Hill. And you still see, in spite of all of that, what is widely believed to be orchestrated by the Trump administration, in spite of all of that, I don't hear Biden saying I don't hear a speech where Biden says, where were you, Chuck Schumer, or whoever is the person that say Harry Reid?
The people who are pushing this narrative are the people who are benefiting from the corruption.
And Sarah Lynch and the ambassadors of the capitals, foreign capitals, gotta tell these folks, y'all sounding stupid.
Well, I think diplomatic...
y'all sounding foolish now.
Diplomatic conventions would prevent them from doing so. But we, the Guyanese people, got to tell them, something stupid. People get up on the social media and try to defend the most indefensible things. And then when their logic breaks down, y'all can stay in opposition or whatever.
Not only when logic breaks down, when they got some peril on the toes, say, oh Lord, your opposition talking for me.
Yeah, a lot of them, you go into a number of these communities and they come to you.
Father.
Oh God, MP Amanza, these people terrible, and so on. I say to them, so what are you going to do next election? And they can't answer me. Because there is something that we feel that we beholden to people who mistreat us.
And I saw that transpire in real time. So there was this woman who used to sell on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
She had a plant shop in Bunbury.
Yes.
And I don't know what she did them, but they started to move against her and her plant shop. And when she became public with the matter, I was so shocked. She said, I get this piece of land and permission under the APNU AFC, right? Me whole family went to vote PPP in this way. Me whole family, I carry people to vote for PPP. This way.
It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. We really have to raise the level of maturity of our politics. And let me tell you, all of what you are seeing manifesting and happening in terms of the breakdown of law and order and contractors not doing what they're supposed to do, it is because they take their cue from what is said when the public not listening. Yeah. They take their cue from the corruption that they know is happening behind the scenes. Yeah. So it manifests itself in shoddy work because we don't get this by a couple million. So and so Guyanese got to fundamentally decide whether we want to continue down this tit for tat path or whether we want to build this nation. And if you want to build this nation, I submit to you that the PPP has no interest in doing that.
Yeah, but you know what? My pastor, a pastor that I respect, said something to me years ago, and it stuck with me. He probably forgot he said this to me. But it stuck with me. And I can't remember what was the discussion, but he said, in life, as a man, and in a marriage, he said, you got to decide something. Whether you want to be right or you want this thing to work. Right? I think in the wider society of this country, we have the problem. Right? People want to be right. Right? Jack Joe want to be right. He want to be he want to be the brains box. We want this country work,
I like that.
This country could work. We need another motto. One people, one nation, one destiny. That's enough. That worked for me many years now. It don't feel me. That capture everything. Whoever was the inspiration for that, kudos to y'all. We need another one.
Well, it's an interesting look.
We need an addendum on that.
It's an interesting factoid because this motto, one people, one nation, one destiny, was actually coined by Brindley Ben, Robeson Ben's father, in an address that he gave in the sometime 1956, just before, shortly before independence. I don't remember the year, but he was the author of our motto. It is therefore quite interesting that Jagan's party is now attempting to rebrand and to do away with that, with this one Guyana thing. What does that mean? What does it mean exactly when every day you're practicing to Guyana?
I think that's it. That's the trouble that we have. We're not interested in this thing working.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be right. We want to be right. We're only interested in coalition politics when we lead in it.
Yes.
We're only interested in shared governance if we lead in it. We're only interested, we got to be right. We're only interested in having a good economy if we're in charge.
And again, it is for the Guyanese people to understand and demand more. It's not for nobody else. The Trinidadians can't come and demand more for us. We have to demand more, and you are absolutely right. Let me say this unequivocally. There is no way that this nation is going to move forward in this current political construct. It has to change.
Yeah.
We do it for how much? 50, how much? 50 something
50
years.
something years.
And it's
50
walking.
plus. Yeah.
And I don't intend.
Yeah. We got to decide. We got to decide. We going to own this house or we can be tenants. We whole life.
Well, we are, look.
It's a house we're trying to build, you know. We can't decide any contractor. We can't decide electrician.
Mia like her, hate her, came and she said, you're going to be tenants in your own country unless you do certain things. But we're not listening. And we as a people are not demanding more.
Yeah. We hear him, but we listen.
And even we who are in the opposition got to demand more from our leadership.
Yeah. Correct.
You understand?
Correct.
We have to demand more from our leadership.
Correct.
And our leadership has to in turn demand more of the government.
Yeah.
But the people have the ultimate say.
Halabi. Demand
The
more.
people
Demand
have
more.
the ultimate say.
Demand.
Listen. We must ensure that we set up a society where if you fail, it is because of lack of effort on your part. Not because the system is so stacked against you.
Look, as I said, we didn't discuss the trajectory of the conversation, but look how the biggest issue falls in here because we got to demand more, right? We got to demand more. Now, we got some young people who went out there and them guys run their heart out, right? They javelin the heart out, they discuss the heart out, right? This year's Caribbean team performed exceptionally well. I think led by this young woman, Atoya Harvey.
Yeah.
That girl can run, boy. That girl can run.
Like the 1500,
right?
Like nothing.
Make it look like nothing, and then came back, ran, I think, in the 800, got a silver medal there. Blue pass, last in the competition. They did well all around the Guyanese team. Whatever was the event, they did well, right? But Nigel, you was alerted us yesterday that this team struggled, boy. Could you imagine for the want of money for COVID tests, for food, right?
These things make my blood boil.
How are you going to go out there and perform at your optimal if you got wonder how you going home? Right? As a sportsman, when you got all upon your mind, if you got far to go, you know in running, like in life, you need the less baggage you got, the better. Right? How you going to go there and compete? At the top, you got to wonder if you like bill gonna pay. Right? If your school fees gonna pay. I could afford this COVID test when I come up this feeling.
Yeah. How am I eating? Because I learned that they didn't have money for meals.
We got solve problems. We solve a man that upsets me the way it upset Nigel Hughes. But that's the only problem, you know. Because another issue I'm being made to understand that a young man, Simeon Adams, should have gone. But for the want of a passage, that was brought to my attention overnight. He was chosen, but then I can be corrected, but I was made to understand that he was told that, you know, they ain't got passage for him. So you'd got to find your own passage at this time. Oh, man, the thing hot in my bones.
Meanwhile, we would pack up a troop of 100 people
Yeah. So
to go to Dubai.
Twice, 3 times with you.
You know, and you see when you
carry
talk,
your friends, your wife, family, sweet woman.
Talk about these things, people think, hey, what is that? Investing in the future of our young people is where it's at. Who knows what he could have done had he been given the opportunity to go? And this is where we have to call out the Athletics Association and all of them for this level. This is slackness, and it is unacceptable. And if the minister were serious, he would look into the replacement of the entire leadership of that organization, because this ought not to be allowed to happen.
Which might begin with himself, frankly speaking.
Well,
which might begin with himself.
We've been saying to Irfan that he needs to get rid of that boy, but okay.
Right? Our team performed exceptionally well.
Kudos to those young people.
Yes.
And to have done that and to have performed so well and then have to be subject to this humiliation, because that is what it is.
It is.
Humiliation. Because I guarantee you every other team had every other country had their team well sorted out. Why is it that with all of the money we're doing and building road and so on and so forth, we couldn't have
like when you're going overseas, like as a team, I just wondering.
Speechless.
I just wondering if you guys spend an extra day in the budgeting. Nobody don't plan like miscellaneous costs just in case, right? How quick it is to get money from Barbados to
or
Guyana?
It's simple. You have whoever's the head of the team have a built-in, petty cash to deal with contingencies and emergencies.
Miscellaneous.
But the reality is that show me, what did I say during the budget speech? Show me where you spend your money and I'll tell you what your priorities are. The PPP's priorities are not the people of Guyana. It is their own pocket, and nothing that won't enrich them gets their attention.
But Manzo, you what you said is interesting, because the last time Irfan went to Dubai, they had some mechanical problems with what was the airline? American Airlines, I think it was, in Miami. And they changed the local guy here. This is nothing short of an embarrassment of a similar nature for the Guyanese team.
And the minister.
Who heads gonna roll here?
No heads will roll. I will be shocked if heads roll, because they do not believe in accountability and good governance. You see, to make heads roll, unless it is a head that they do not perceive is their supporter. We must put that caveat, because they have no problem with asking people when they believe that they are not in support of them. But I'd be shocked. In any other country, Ramson would have gone home.
You know what I believe happened here too? This team that went, when I look at them, say, I'm going to do nothing there.
Is that a conversation that we want to have?
Right? I think when I look at the team, when I look at the complexion of the team, they say, I'm going there and do nothing. Right? And so you treat it like that. Harvey bringing home a gold, a silver medal. I think we got 5 medals we bringing home.
At which games?
At the Caribbean Games.
The 4 most Caribbean games?
Yeah. 5 medals.
I look forward to seeing what their reception will be like at the CJIA.
Yeah. 5 medals, those young people.
I look forward to seeing it.
Right? And again, Amanda said again, kudos to this team. Y'all go watch those events if you haven't had a chance.
Yeah.
They're all over YouTube.
Yeah.
Type in Caribbean Games, Guyana.
But it says as well, Cher, that there's talent here.
Yeah.
There's talent here. We need to give these young people scholarships to
Yeah.
go and develop that
Correct.
talent.
I was telling the podcast yesterday, I think it was, Sunday, that I was listening to Harvey after she won that gold. First day of the games there. And she said she didn't intend initially to run so fast throughout the race. But she said, when I looked behind and I saw the Jamaicans come in, she said, I had to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
That girl ran that 1500.
She did.
She beat them bad. She beat them real bad.
Yes.
They can make the mistake again.
Yes.
And you know what? That wasn't a fluke, In every race, she was either first, second, third. And in some of those races, she was leading them.
Yep.
That girl could run at
and she had strategy. She had a plan, and she knew how to execute. That is something that has to be fostered and has to be grown and nurtured. She should be sent on a scholarship immediately.
And you know what? In addition to that, something she said struck me. As a nation, we've been talking about it throughout our program. We're coming from behind. We in front. Right? That 40% GDP or whatever it's going to be this year that they're touting, that mean nothing. And the experts tell us that mean nothing. Right? Because a lot of we hungry. Right? That mean nothing. We coming from behind. But the question is, when are we going to pick up the pace? Because we see a very pedestrian, look at the treatment of the team of itself. Somebody got to pick up the pace. Somebody done by youth, sports, and culture got to pick up the pace, Samantha.
It got to begin with, look.
Somebody in Shibna Ryan, Chanja Paul Drive. Got to pick up the pace.
You are right. It begins, it turns on leadership.
Right?
Are we portraying a spirit of excellence?
Manza.
Look at the board of the roundabout. I mean,
somebody got to pick up the pace. That's why I'm telling you.
When are we?
That's a carrying crow mixed with a jumping board. That's what the people say over the weekend on the podcast.
People are saying, "Oh, effort was put in." And
no.
My point is this: there has to come a time when we file divorce papers on mediocrity.
Yes, I was coming there.
We got a divorce.
It was mediocre. Full stop. It was mediocre. Stop it.
It was mediocre, and it ought not to have happened. Now, there's a particular photograph that you have up on credible sources that is such a metaphor for where Guyana is right now. And I don't mean to laugh, and God knows, sometimes if you don't laugh, you cry. The upside down yield sign.
Yeah.
The bird in the back.
Yeah.
And the flag of Guyana flying.
And
you look.
Everything wrong.
And you're thinking, if this is not Guyana in freeze.
But Starbuck News pointed out the fact that the animal rights people should be upset because look at the monument stabbing the bird.
Like it's impaled.
Guyana is the greatest country on earth, folks. There's no country like it. This is us processing the grief, you know. It's not me finding it funny, it's we processing the grief. Translate.
It's a coping mechanism.
It's
a coping mechanism.
It's coping. This is how we cope with it. In that one little roundabout. You see this whole country.
The upside down yield sign. A bird impaled.
Right? And you know something else? Again, because we don't want the what Eliud Kipchoge, the greatest distance runner in this world, says. Yeah. He says 100% of me is 1% of the team. Right? We want to be right in this country. We want the thing for work. So all we could be part of it. We want to be right. That's how you got all of these silos happening.
And
100%. 100%.
That we have to, as
apologies there, one of our phones going off.
As a nation,
guys, just help us there.
We have to, as a nation, be able to deal with that reality of what you just said.
Yeah.
That it is important not to be right, but to make it work.
Yeah.
It means that you have to come to the table of compromise. I keep saying it, that we will find ourselves reduced to second and third class citizens in our own nation. Because whilst we're busy fighting each other, trying to be right, the hawks are literally swooping in.
I hope it's not a birdie collar. I hope it's not a birdie collar. A hawk about it. That's a jumpy boy. But that being said about it, we have a sea monument. You know what I find interesting? We who traverse that area almost on a daily basis, that whole middle section was clay bricked or tile, if you want to call it that. The whole. Yeah. And in 2 days, somebody had a thought. We can put on a monument.
They
dig up all the clay brick back and put together a monument. That's hollowness, you know. It's a steel frame.
Was it not in the original plan?
It was not.
There you go. And again, it goes to planning. Listen.
The 2-day afterthought.
My people, we have some
serious
introspection.
You don't know how the import, the insight you offer there, that whole roundabout is the whole country.
It's a metaphor for the country.
Because 2 months ago, we had a budget that was red. You don't have a stadium for Region 6 in it. You don't have an airport. It was an afterthought. That's the monument.
You know,
a monument to afterthought. And then you stab it with a board. You stab a board with it. This is the greatest country in North Folk.
Commit murder.
Right? A testimony.
The bird looks impaled
on
that thing. And you know
Monumental to mediocrity in
did
Africa.
we have a different government, they would have heard the outcry of the people and remove it. But again, a metaphor, they mean to shove mediocrity down our throats.
It's a monument to mediocrity. Every time you see it, that's why you're watching it here. Somebody pointed out, that was the thought I slipped me. In that same sphere, if you go down, for instance, the access road, there is no provisioning for walkway for people to walk there. So if you got a car, you can traverse that area there.
No, you can't.
There are very few pedestrian crossings now. I think over the weekend we saw some after we spoke about it, and more signage in the area.
But you know, they do it because they know that there's some people that gonna be fascinated with the bright lights. Oh yeah. But there are those of us who have seen development. We understand how development should happen. And when we call it out, you hear, oh, you hate him. It's not about that. Like, how long are we going to be on that hill as Guyanese?
For me personally, I call it out because I care about birds and stopping and killing the birds. Stop. Bird likes butter. I want to put up the artist's name. That's what I want to do.
You know, it's not even about the artist, but who would have seen that and would have okayed it? It's not okay to
You must got some checklist.
Somebody had to sign up.
When you walk from by the yield sign that Irfan had to pass, you know, and you watch the yield sign, who sign up? Yes. who take the box and say yes?
Sign up. Guys, it's not. If you don't laugh, you would go mad in this place. It is a metaphor for where we find ourselves as a
That is why the team was treated in that way.
Upside down and steeped in mediocrity.
Right? It's mediocrity. That's why we give the team that.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
You don't have money for food.
Money to buy food. And then,
Mercy.
Then Nigel Hughes brings it to our attention. And instead of saying this was an oversight, will be corrected, Ramson issues one stupid statement.
Oh, he said something? He said?
Yes. So basically saying, oh, Nigel wants attention and whatever else and whatever else.
Well, Ramson would know. An attention seeker like him, he would know.
He would know. I
mean,
it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. And
he would know.
And the government ought to issue an apology to the team. And I await seeing what their reception at the CJIA will look like. Are they back home or are they coming back home?
Wednesday, I think. Wednesday.
Well, we'll see.
If they have money.
Have time
they have money
to put together a proper welcome home.
And it's been interesting to see too what they get for their hard efforts.
Yes. I think you know, some kind of
in addition to this,
some kind of tangible reward. A house lot, for example. We would expect that if you know, you would look into their family situation and they don't have their own home. That one of these core homes will be made available forthwith. So there are things that you can do, and we're watching and we're waiting, and we will compare what was done to previous athletes as to how you're treating these young people now. Irfan Ali likes to talk about young people. Put your money where your mouth is and invest in these young people and make sure that you take care of them so that they can focus on representing this country and being the best that they can possibly be. So we're watching,
You know, the problem with them is that they never run a race. That's the problem.
I used to try in high school.
They got so much implications.
Respect.
That's why I'm telling you,
manners.
if you ever try to run a race, you'll understand what
So what a girl did. I'm telling you.
They never throw a javelin in their life. That's the problem. They never run a race. They were appointed to some position. That one deep. That one deep. People writing dissertation and say, how are you going to think?
You know, it's we have
We're different, you know. This country
we
different.
have a lot of
greatest country on earth, boy.
But we got to change it now. And I think it is up to our generation to do it.
I believe that. I believe that.
Our generation. You know, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Left, right, and center. If it's your side, their side, we don't agree with this, we disagree with this, so that we can move this country forward. We cannot keep stuck in the old patterns and expect for Guyana to reach her truest potential. We will always get left behind if we don't change our mindsets immediately.
I think that's our approach. I know it's the time.
Oh, wow.
Good
Oh,
morning,
wow.
guys. Good to see each and every one of you. We're so happy that you guys pulled up a chair with us this morning. You had some coffee with us. You had some tea, maybe some Milo tea, some tea bag tea. Beatrice, tell me how you guys going. And it's Steam Okro. That one always gets me. Steam Okro. Carl
Carl
Fordyce.
Fordyce
Yeah.
and Stacy Braffett, Jennifer Babb, Marilyn Ford. Good morning to you guys.
We hope you are.
You know, we want to be able to.
I looking like the board.
Yes, share the live stream, smash the emoji button, and let us keep the credible information going. We have to do this.
Yeah.
It's up to us. It's up to us.
Mm-hmm.
If we do not do it, then we can condemn Guyana to a future that's very, very difficult. But I know that we can do it. And it's the young people that got to do it. Mm-hmm. I keep telling these people, our people, that it was Chetty and Barnum were two young men when they got into the struggle for independence. They were two young men.
Look, Ralph Gonzalez, he said out to me, he ain't giving up.
You know? And so we have got to decide that we want differently.
Yeah. True.
And let me say the truth. Even if we try and fail, I could live with trying and failing, but I can't live with not trying.
Yeah.
So good morning again, guys.
Simone Williams,
for joining us.
Maxine Monroe.
I see
Commissioner
Marla,
Cole.
I see Marla Ollie Cock. I saw Marla yesterday.
Roy Griffith.
Yes.
Nice.
And Jennifer Bob.
Nice. Bernadette, you having some bush tea?
Yes.
Bush tea
is the best
tea.
Yeah.
Bush tea can be sample salad. I didn't like it as a child, as I'm older now. My mother said bush and got those.
Yes.
Bush and got those. My aunt had some stories with bush tea. Everything people get shisha, I was throwing in them chewing cup. And one day she tasted it for she said, she didn't like it. She stopped me them chair. Bush tea got those.
Bush tea is the best.
Bush tea is skin boy.
So guys, look, thank you for joining us. Go out there, have a great day.
Go and be great.
And remember that change begins with you.
Mm-hmm.
Change begins with you. I see some of the PPP trolls.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if they're the PPP trolls.
Yeah.
They may just be trolls who may just be bitter in life and just feel the need to spew because the abundance of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just want to say to you, you could make this world a better place. Before you type that nonsense and press send, pause.
Send some cyborg.
Pause and think about it. Pause and think about it. So Paul Prasad, you don't have to spew, bilge. You have the choice to come in and to say good morning. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Paul.
You do have that choice, Paul.
Paul.
Just remember that. And so guys, go out there, have a great day. God bless you guys, and let's do this thing, man. We got to make Guyana great.
Not like how everybody make it. Great by the respect about us. Not like sugar.
Not like sugar, but genuinely.
Yeah. Can be great. That's our time.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a
stay
blessed
safe,
one.
Stay safe.